Hi, in this video I want to talk about reading from a lead sheet and applying some of the concepts that I've already discussed in other videos. I'll put links to these videos below. The last video that I did, I talked about what I call using inner chords, and I had a request for a video showing how these could be applied to playing from a lead sheet. So what I've done, I've taken the A section from a well-known standard and created what they call a contrafact. In other words, I've used the chord progression, but I've created my own melody. You'll probably be able to work out which standard it's from the chord progression. It is a really well-known one. Now, if we look at the original chords and just play as written, it would sound something like this. Which is perfectly acceptable. I think that the things that I changed slightly just create some movement and also add colour to it. So let's analyse what I did change. Well, let's look at the very first note, B flat, harmonised with an E flat major 7 chord. That's E flat major 7. I added a ninth there, the F, which just creates a bit more colour. And then I did this. Those two notes, the major 7th, major 9th, went down a step to the root and third and create what we call inner movement. Notice that the melody and the bass and the G as well all remain in the same place, but these two notes move. Now, this is exactly what I did in the last video. I showed an example in C major at the beginning of the video where you play a C major 9 chord and the top two notes come down, and then showed how if you forget about the left hand for the moment, look at the right hand notes. You could think of that as an E minor 7 chord or G major 6. They contain exactly the same notes. Going to A minor 7 or C major 6, again, contain exactly the same notes. And you can do those in various inversions like this to create movement. So on the E flat major 7 chord, I started off and I did that. And if you look at those notes on their own, you could say, well, that's G minor 7 going to C minor 7. So I then put a couple of substitutions in, A minor 7 flat 5 and D7 in place of C minor 7. So why did I choose those chords? Well, I'm treating the G minor 7 in the following bar as a new tonic, and I'm using what we call a secondary dominant. I'll put a video link below to a video I made about this. Secondary dominant means when some people call it tonicizing a new chord. You look at a chord and say, let's make that the tonic and precede it with its dominant. So the dominant 7th in the key of G minor is D7. So we're putting D7 going to G minor 7. The A minor 7 flat 5 is chord 2 in the key of G minor. And whenever you use a secondary dominant, you can always precede it with the chord 2 of the new key. Don't forget though, always check that it works with the melody, because sometimes these substitutions either just don't work at all, or they don't make it any better, or sometimes they make it worse. In this case, I think it works quite nicely. You notice when I change to D7 there, that I'm keeping the E flat down because that becomes the flat ninth of D7, and it's a lovely colourful chord. On the second bar, I didn't really alter anything there. Just a little bit of movement in the left hand, just an arpeggio, root, 5th, 10. And then all I did on the E flat 7 was add a 9th F, which then went down a semitone to the flat 9. That's a useful little one to remember, that the 9th going to the flat 9th always creates that bit of colour and movement. Now just here, we've got A flat major 7 in the original going to A flat 7. And I've changed it to D flat 7. And it's not immediately obvious why I've chosen D flat 7, because the chord after it is G minor 7. I'm not actually looking at the G minor 7, I'm looking at the chord after that, C7, and saying, right, let's precede C with its dominant. Now its dominant, of course, would be G7, which you could do, but the sharp 9th that the B flat makes will be a bit harsh. So instead of G7, I'm using a tritone substitution. I've put a link below about a video that I made about tritone substitutions. And basically it's a dominant 7th chord, a semitone above the chord that you're going to. Now remember, I'm thinking in terms of the C7, which works fine, but I'm not going straight to C7. Instead, I'm going to chord a G minor 7 chord, and that's because that is the chord 2 in the key of F minor. So 2, 5, 1. 2, that's G minor 7, 5, F minor, treating that as chord 1. Also, I did something else on the C7 there. What I did was this. Now look at the right hand, what happens. So, G minor 7, sorry, I played that with G in a bit, should have been C. Just there, that's a G minor 7 but played over C. Or you could think of it as B flat major 6. And then changing it to that chord, B flat minor 7, flat 5. And again, this is something that I did in the last video showing about inner chords. So what's really nice about that is the movement at the top here. Those two notes come down and the top one goes up. Another way of thinking about that is calling it a suspended chord, C11 or C suspended 4th. They both mean the same thing. The F is the 11th or the suspended 4th, and it has a very strong feeling tugging to resolved onto the 3rd. And at the same time, the 9th is going to the flat 9th. And the 5th at the top is going up to the flat 13th. So you get a really nice colourful chord there. In the next bar, I didn't really alter anything. Just did a little run up in the left hand. I put one chord substitution in the next bar. On the second beat, I played D flat 7. Again, tritone substitution, taking you to C7. And on the C7, I'm putting the 9th in, that's D, going down to the flat 9th again. actually put a ninth in there and make that quite nice. So another little run up in the bass to the B flat, and I'm not going direct to B flat 7, which would be that. I'm using another suspension, another 11th or suspended 4th chord. Or again, you could think of it as an inner chord. You could say that's an A flat major 7 chord on its own. And just look at those two notes, the C and the E flat. Again, the 11th resolves down to the 3rd, or the suspended 4th to the 3rd, the 9th to the flat 9. And then on the last bar, I just finish with a nice little arpeggio. And I use this shape. That's an E flat 6/9 chord. I know it says E flat major 7 on the lead sheet, but if you put the major 7th in there, it's a semitone away from the melody note. It clashes badly. It wouldn't work either putting it down there. Still get the clash, and also sounds a bit muddy down at the bottom. The solution to that one is always just change major 7th to major 6. And then for the arpeggio, I've added the 9th. Now, if you look at the right hand notes there, G, C, F, you get this lovely, what they call a 4th shape, which gives it a nice contemporary feel. That is a perfect 4th. That is a perfect 4th. If you don't know about intervals, I'll put a link below to a video that I made explaining what musical intervals are, different types of interval. So the left hand I'm just playing root, 5th, root. The right hand I'm playing 3rd, 6th, 9th. And then with the pedal down, I just jump up an octave and repeat another octave. Hope you found that useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you.